Okay, gentlemen, is there any technical reason why I shouldn't start this wonderful panel that we all have to? No? No technical reason? Thank you, guys. Can we have a round of applause for the technical team, please? Very good. Okay, guys. Hi. I'm Alex. Hi, Alex. Hi, Alex. Yeah, nice to see you too. Wow, we really know how to do this. So, this panel is called Advanced Photography, and the idea was that I would do this as a sort of practical demonstration. Hence, all of these cameras, which it turns out I can't connect to my laptop, so no demonstration. That's a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a problem because there's no actual presentation to go with this. But I have a better idea. Yesterday or the day before, it kind of all blurs together. We went to Moscow with recording artist Fox Moore. Do we know who that is? Oh, Lord have mercy. Yes. Come on in. The more the merrier, and the merrier the better. That's all completely fine. Make yourselves comfortable, make yourselves at home. What's happening? This town ain't big enough for the two of us. Whatever you've got sheathed, don't take it out of your holster. It's a PG-13 panel. Loading. So, instead of a presentation, instead of a live demonstration, we're going to go through a photo shoot that I did recently with the recording artist Fox Moore. Now, why is this an acceptable way for me to run the panel called Advanced Photography? Because by the time that you get into any art with any kind of sophistication, by the time that you're ready to call yourself advanced as an artist, it really, you're dealing with skills that are too sophisticated to teach in an hour, right? But ultimately what you're dealing with is a very sophisticated taste. The artist's life exists as a tension between your taste and your skills, right? And it is absolutely wonderful when both of those are growing. Those of you who are artists, and I don't just mean visual arts, writing music is all the same. When you're developing your skills and your taste at the same time, when you're realizing with every day that passes that there are higher standards and that you can attain them because you have the ability to. That's a wonderful experience. You feel so inspired, you feel so much growth. And there comes a point where perhaps your taste increases faster than your skills do. And that's kind of sad. Then you feel like you're not good enough. You have to work much, much harder in order to achieve the standards that you're starting to appreciate. Or the other way around, your skills are improving, but your taste doesn't. In which case, you stagnate. Because you can't produce better work than you can imagine. So when I want to talk about taste, I really can't teach you that, and no one can. That's idiotic. The only thing I can do is show you mine of what I consider to be a fairly successful portrait shoot that we did recently. So, with your kind consideration, let's get started. I've already done first pass of all of these, but let me just make sure that we've taken all the star ratings away. Because what we're going to do first is we're just going to go through these photos and we're going to pick which ones we're going to work at. And all will become clear. Okay? Are we ready to go? So, is this a good photo for Fox Moore to put on his YouTube profile? No. No. So we move on. I'm actually going to, I need a little bit of access over here. This is going to be intimate. I'm going to reject that one. Let's make sure that we can actually see that. Okay, it's tough to see, but down here where I'm blocking it, you've got star ratings and a flag for rejection. This is Adobe Lightroom. It is my tool of choice when it comes to photo editing. By all means, if anybody can fit in and sit down, that's wonderful. Next, is this any good? No, exactly. So we kill it as well. Next, any good? No, very good. These were all just one. How about this one? How about it?
It's only just like my...
No, you hate it. That's okay. We'll kill it as well. No. There's a little bit of a discrepancy between what's on my screen here and what's over here. This is much harsher. It's a little unkind, but do we like this photo?
Well, the background,
The background is interesting, but look at his face. Does he look interested in what's happening?
No.
And these are supposed to be, you know, this is a professional photo shoot. These are supposed to be professional photos. So no. Oh, now we're starting to get somewhere. So what do we think about this? It's sharp. It's engaging. He's doing something interesting. Shall we keep this one?
I like it.
He got an interesting look on his face.
He's got an interesting look on his face, exactly. He's conveying emotion. This could work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you just saying yeah because I'm telling you that this could work?
No, of course.
Okay. No, yes, no, okay. I believe you. I
You
believe you.
should flag it for later review.
Exactly. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this 1 star, and then we're going to come back to it. Before we move on to this photo, I'm going to talk about that rating system. I talked about this last year as well. So when it comes to processing large amount of photos, I do weddings and events. So I come back from one of these weddings or events with literally 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 photos. It's kind of crazy. I need to get through them as quickly as possible, so I need to reduce those 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 photos down to about 400 to 600 as quickly as possible. So I go through all of them very, very rapidly. Anything that I want to keep for any reason gets 1 star. Anything that I want to share with the people who are there gets 2 stars. Everything that I want to share with basically everybody on my website gets 3 stars. 4 stars is for my portfolio. I have about 10 images with 4 stars, and 5 stars, Pulitzer Prize. I've never taken a 5-star photo. But by keeping the rating system this compact, you can work very quickly. And that's one of the things that's important to me, speed. The speed of processing. But don't worry, we'll get into more details as well. So, this is another variation of the same image. We had this one to begin with, this one now. Which one do we like better? Well, you know what? Now is not the time to be thinking about which one is better. Both of them are sharp, both of them are engaging, so let's just keep both of them, and we'll worry about it in greater detail later. So I guess this was supposed to be kind of a Calvin Klein image, but I don't think that it works, right? He's a good-looking guy, but this is not a great look for him. Ah,
Great.
here we go. You see how much a small change in angle matters. So let's keep this one. Bye. We will miss you.
Wow.
Bye. I know, it's cold, right? Okay, so great sky. It's a shame that it's so washed out. Great sky. We've got some dynamism in the scarf. Shall we keep it?
Yeah.
How about this one? No?
Why not?
Why not? Seriously, who said no and why? It's okay. You're just wrong. But it's okay, you
The
can say
previous
so.
has dynamic, he's drawing thing, and here he's just posing.
Yeah, but we may want that. But that's okay, that's okay. I disagree, but that's just with one simple light on a speed light, such as anyone can afford for their camera, you can really transform this into something dramatic. So you've got, like, I love this particular photo. I don't know if we're necessarily going to use it because you see so much texture and depth in the scarf. It's very three-dimensional. The subject is, well, he doesn't look terribly interested, but ever. Let's keep it and move on. And now we're getting into the posing. Okay. Keep it or move on?
Keep it.
Keep it?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we're going to have to be quick about this. How about this one? Keep it?
Keep it. Yes.
Keep it, okay.
No.
No? So this was the
very
first.
cold.
This was the second.
Very
Say what?
cold.
Say again?
I think it's very cold.
I think it's very cold. Well, that brings us to an interesting topic. So, modern digital cameras can record JPEG images, that's what most of them do. Some of them, the DSLRs such as these, mirrorless cameras, they also shoot RAW. Who's familiar with the concept of RAW file formats? Yes? Excellent, very good. So, A raw file, RAW, contains all of the sensory information that was actually. No, it's cool. No, wait, no. I'm really not making fun of you. It happens to everyone. It happened, for example, to the cameraman during the Abbey Road recordings with Fox and War. Just as the orchestra was about to start, he couldn't get his phone to stop. It was hilarious. So, a raw file captures all the sensor data, which is much more sophisticated, much more nuanced than you can fit in a JPEG. A JPEG image contains 3 color channels, red, green, and blue, and each of them has 8 bits of information for 256 total values. 256 in each of the channels means that in total we have 16.7 million colors, ranging from black to white and everything in between. 16.7 million colors is great. It's more than the human eye can see. It's great on a display, it's great on paper, it's maybe not so great on a projector here, where we have much more limited value between black and white. See, the tonal, or the light intensity is much more limited. But it's pretty good. But a camera sensor is capable of recording much more information. So instead of 8 bits per channel, it might be 12 or 14 bits per channel. And then you get into the area of trillions of color values. Much more than can be displayed on a screen. And now you saw what I just did, by the way. This was a very underlit image, and I just brightened it significantly without any problems. You're not seeing any banding, you're not seeing any visual artifacts, and I can take it further because a raw file contains sub-pixel data. I'm not going to go into exactly what that means. It means that you can adjust the white balance of an image after the fact. Now, for some of you, this is quite normal. So the white balance is this: whatever the dominant light source is, determines what is neutral. Let me try that again to make sure that I'm making sense. When you're indoors, when you're working with incandescent light bulbs, light bulbs give off a very warm light, or we call it warm. It's very orangey, it's very yellow, it's a little bit red as well. So that's very warm light. When you're walking outside, sunlight is much colder, technically. Right? Sunlight is very intense, sunlight is full spectrum, but the sky is blue, so it's casting blue light in the shadows. So, your camera makes, for every scene, a determination what the white balance should be. So what is the dominant light source? Because if I'm outside, and my camera is calibrated for photography, then everything is going to look blue, because it's expecting more red, yellow, and orange light, and what it's actually getting is blue light. And as you can see here, these are the options for the white balance. As shot means that my photography program will obey whatever my camera thought was corrected at the time, or it can make an automatic determination, or we can calibrate it for, let's see what happens if we calibrate it for daylight. So now it's very cold, just as the gentleman over there said, because it's expecting colder light than it's actually receiving. If you go tungsten, which is worse, so tungsten is indoor light, it's candle light, incandescent, that's excellent. Now it's expecting a lot more red, yellow, and orange, and what it's getting instead is blue, so everything looks blue. And lastly, if we go, for instance, for fluorescent, it's expecting more green, and what it's getting instead is purple. So I want this to be neutral, because as the gentleman said, it was too cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my color picker over here, and I'm going to tell it, this right here, I know that this scarf was gray. So whatever color cast that scarf receives, that is the dominant frequency of light. And if we select that as our point, everything else will fall into place. Now, as skin tones are neutral, it still looks a little disturbing on this projector. That's a problem with the projector. But so by identifying a point that should be color neutral, and that has therefore received a colored cast, all the other aspects of the image will come together. And now that the blueness has been fixed, how do we feel about the image? Keep it or ditch it?
You can use any gray point.
You can use basically any gray point, as long as that gray point is subject to the dominant light source. So, let's say that we turn these on, incandescent light, and let's say that we're going to stand over here with the windows open. So on this side of my face is receiving sunlight. This side of my face is receiving incandescent light. That's just hopeless. Then half of my face is blue or yellow. Yeah, no, this is a real problem. And when I'm doing a photo shoot, that's one of the things that I'm aware of. So, you notice this bad boy here? This is a filter for the flash. It's been with me a while, that's why it's all messed up. I keep it on there whenever I'm indoors because indoor light, incandescent light, is slightly orange. So when I want to add some light to it with my flash, I make sure that there's some extra orange in the light when I'm outdoors.
It's actually important there.
Yes. Because otherwise, we'll have a nice incandescent environment, everything's red, you can neutralize it to, if people are wearing grey or white, you can set that to white balance, and then you've got this flash, which is much, much cooler, it can be hundreds of degrees cooler, which grossly conflicts. By the same token, we were out here around the time that the sun was going down, so there was lots of blue light. So I took this off, because otherwise it would be much too warm. And here would be orange, and the background would be blue, and that's no good for anyone. So let's take a quick look at the next ones. Right, it's funny because it's Russia. Again. You see what he's standing on here, by the way? Is this that I had my subject standing on a little bit higher than me, because, hey, which of you came to the panel last year, the photography panel last year? You take it all the way down, you take it all the way up. Yeah, but even here, I'm still getting, at least on my screen, I'm still getting relatively natural skin tones. So this would be an acceptable image. But we don't like it, so we move on.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And why? Because it's got personality, because it's got life, because it's got joy. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I wish that no, this is fine, this is fine. This is just unfortunate, and I really shouldn't show these before retouching them, but oh well, that's what we're doing anyway. Nobody tell Fox, okay? Yeah, I know I can trust you guys. He's got a spot on his head. Shit happens. It happens to the best of us. And since he's not a paid model, I couldn't demand a refund. But we can take care of that, and we will. I just want to make sure that we first get our selection done. So this, we've got the flash in the corner. We've got him just fiddling about. I don't think the light is very impressive, so we move on, right? Forget about it. Yeah, forget about it. Oh, we're starting to get somewhere. Let's see what the next one's like. I kind of like how the scarf is moving over here, but let me see what the next one's like. What do we think? Louder!
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. Thanks. I'm starting to get reassured. This one is almost identical, so let's keep it as well. No, he's not choking himself. It's not that kind of a scene. Shall we keep it?
Yeah.
Yes. Next. Let's keep it. I'm not going to throw it away. Okay, sorry, I take it back. Now he's choking himself. Some people are into that, I guess. Okay.
Excellent.
How do we feel about, well, okay, maybe not this one exactly. So, the lighting is okay. Let's say that his expression is okay. I don't really think that he was giving it everything he's got at this point. Right! The background interferes with the subject. So I was so focused on my subject here, and I wanted to get that thing in the background, but now it looks like he's got a dick helmet on his head. That is no good. So you can get so focused on one aspect of the image that you forget everything else, and then you wind up in trouble. So shortly after that, I realized what was happening, and I tried to take the dick helmet off of his head. Is this successful, guys? No?
A little silly.
A little silly. Okay, that's fair. Is this better? Much more serious. You keep it? No. Okay. We're doing it serious. We're doing it serious. So again, these were supposed to be promotional photos for his recording artist's web presence. So he wanted to show as much as possible of the environment where he was and place him in context. Now, I think in this case the context is too substantial. Right? He looks tiny. You can barely recognize that he's there. Okay. We wanted to try something cute here. He wanted to throw his gloves at the camera. Okay, well, he was preparing to. See what happens here, by the way. See. Yeah, I know this is really weird. So let me explain some of this. So we've got everything is really blurry over here. This is really blurry, and this is razor sharp. Why is that happening?
Fast movement.
Fast movement. Okay, so fast movement relative to the shutter speed is causing all this blurry stuff. Why is this side sharp?
More light because it's
highlighted by speed light.
Highlighted by speed light. Very good. So everything in this image is all moving. Me, the cameraman, I was shaking, and the subject was moving as well. So let's see. This was at 1/20th of a second. In 1/20th of a second, you can be very shaky, especially when you're shooting at 50 millimeters. And he was moving as well, so that's why it's blurry. But the flash on a speed light, all of that lighting power takes about 1/2000th of a second. Right? So even though the image was exposed for 1/20th of a second, for 1/2000th of an image, for 1/2000th of a second, you had flashlight. So anything that was illuminated by the flash was only illuminated by the flash for 1/2000th of a second. And 1/2000th of a second is more than enough to freeze a picture. So that's why anything that was hit by the flash looks sharp. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Does it make sense? Okay, good.
And that's why the flash has setting to sync on the beginning of the shooting or at the end of the frame.
That is correct. It's called front or rear curtain sync.
Yes.
So the flash can either come when the shutter opens, or it can come just before before the shutter closes. And the effect is this: if you do it when the shutter closes and the shutter opens, and you've got your motion and you've got your flash to freeze it, and then it closes. If you do it at the start, the opposite happens, right? So you get your flash, which freezes you, and then you get a trail of motion, and then the shutter closes again. What's the difference? The difference is, when I do it the first way around, where the flash comes at the end, I've got a trail of motion behind me before I'm frozen. And that's what happened here as well. So he was active, and then at the very end, the flash came to freeze him. Let's take a look at the next one, which is also a little bit dynamic. Now, you can hardly see it here, but the same thing happened here. You can see it in his jacket. You see? Slightly blurry. You can make that out. I think it's an interesting effect, and I think this is an interesting pose as well. So I'm going to keep this guy. How are we doing for time, by the way? We're doing okay. Well, considering that we didn't start on time. Who knows what the schedule is, I don't know. So this is also interesting. No, he's covering his face with his hand, so let's not keep that one. Okay. Do we like it? Come on.
Yes.
Yeah?
More or less.
More or less. Okay, then we keep it. Then we keep it.
For the background, you want to have
He's throwing his gloves. Unfortunately, I don't think this one works, right? He's covering too much of his face with the gloves. Okay, this is Okay, now I'm going to try again. Look, by the way, this one is much darker. And why is it much darker? Because I took a much shorter shutter speed. You'll see that the light on his face is still the same as it was previously. That's because the flashlight is compensating for the lower exposure by giving more light. So I can actually just select whether I want my background to be darker or lighter relative to what is being illuminated by the flash. Okay, he's getting ready to throw again. At least you can see both of his eyes. It was a worthy attempt. So let's keep that. Oh, do you think that's better?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll take the star away from there and give it here. No, here it completely fails. You don't see the gloves anymore. Okay, we move on quickly. And he's a very interesting model.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Which one? This one or this one?
Second one.
This.
This one?
Yes.
No? Why this one?
I think this one.
More expressive.
There's more movement to the first one.
So I'm going to go with this one, and it's because of the crane on the left. So I don't like to have unfinished shapes on the edge of my frame. I find it very distracting over here. You have an unfinished shape, the eye can't quite make out what this is supposed to be. And it's a natural response. If there is any kind of mystery in the image, is there anything that you need to figure out? What is that going to be? It's our ancestors' survival response. You're going to focus on that. And sometimes that can be interesting when you're trying to focus on someone's eyes, but this is just a distraction. At least it doesn't look like a dick, which is also a problem. No, seriously, if there's anything in your picture that looks like a dick, forget about the picture. This is a hard rule. Well, like unless you're shooting porn, in which case a hard dick is very desirable. But here you have a more complete shape, so it's actually causing less stress. So I'm going to keep this one and not the other one. Really? No. Gross. Okay. He's not looking at us. He don't know. He doesn't care. Oh. Yeah. Now this one has a problem though. Let's take a closer look at it. So here is what I was talking about earlier. He was standing under a fluorescent light. So on one side of his face, he's getting green, yellow light. On the other side of his face, he's getting a different type of light, which in this case is more red and orange. So we have these two color temperatures conflicting with each other. Are we good? Okay. Conflicting with each other, resulting in it's impossible to get natural skin tones, because if I try to add more magenta to cancel out the green, then everything else turns to purple. If I try to balance it out so that his regular skin is more even, then everything's too green. If I do my trick where I take my color picker and I put it on what's supposed to be neutral, now suddenly the sky is purple, so this is just not going to work. Or is it?
Okay.
Solved, right? If you can't make the color work, you go black and white. This is the beauty of digital imagery. People used to do it in film as well. So now what we have to worry about is the tonal range, and we'll get to those in a second. So I'm going to keep this one, because I think it's pretty nice, right? It's a pretty nice image. How about this one, if we take it black and white? No. I'm going to tell Fox that you all think he's ugly. That's what I'm going to tell him. Very, very disappointed. Oh, here we go. Let's make sure that you can see it a little clearer.
Sad face.
Huh?
Sad face.
Sad face? Does not make sense. Okay, fine. Hold on. Keep this one. Hey! That's nice and dramatic. You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. You have good taste. Okay, even in black and white, I think this one's kind of boring in comparison. This is one of the things that is really, really hard to learn. When you have a good image, putting any image that's quite similar next to it will actually detract from it. So, I noticed this when I do weddings, that I actually have fewer photos of the bride and groom than I have of the guests. And it's because for the bride and groom, or for example during the ceremony, I have very few photos during the ceremony that I actually deliver, because they are very, very important. So I only want the absolute best to appear. And if I add anything that is less than my absolute best, it brings down the average. So if you have these two images, let's say you like both of them, let's say that this was the image that we liked, I would still cut it out, because without this image, this one looks better in the gallery.
So you do it in the first run, do it without.
Not during the first run. During the first run, we just keep whatever we think is worth keeping and working on, and we take another pass at it later on when it's time to deliver the gallery. Because that's what we're doing here, by the way. We're making selections ultimately to deliver a gallery. So this is no, plain old architecture, nothing happening here. This is a setup shot. Right? Okay, some of us are quite adventurous. Let me make sure that we can all see this. What do you think?
Shadow on his face.
Shadow on his face? Yeah, you're right. I think it's quite ugly. His face, not the lighting. How about this?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, let's keep that one. And this one is similar, but it's not as good. And if it's not as good, then I'm not going to bother with it. Because this one is perfect. It's sharp, it's expressive, it's got everything that we need. So, not this one. Okay, I don't know what he's doing here. He's curled up in the fetal position, he's clearly really very intimidated. So no. And this week, here we go. Almost at the end. So, this one. No. This one. Yeah. Do we want to keep this one? Yeah, it's got kind of a cute expression.
Yeah.
Do we have any more though? So let's keep this one. We're at the end. Okay, this was the last of the images. Very well done, guys. Let's see how many we've got left over. If I filter it just by the images that have 1 star, now we have, we still have a lot to work on. So now let's make a more detailed selection. So we have these 3 images that are quite similar, and let's basically make an agreement that we're only going to keep one of them. So if we can only keep one of these 3 images, which one will we keep?
Left.
Last one.
Level 1.
This
Last
one?
Last one.
Number 1.
This.
Number 3, okay. Who thinks it should be this one? Why? Can you tell us?
It's look very interesting actually.
It looks very interesting, basically. That's an excellent way to put it. You have a...
Little mystery, but his face is not totally covered like on the second one.
Okay, very good. So this one is better than this one. Is there anyone who disagrees that this one is better than this one?
Yes.
No one disagrees. Okay, good, so far. So we can actually take that one out. So I'm going to select this guy, and now it's between these 2 guys. So we have mystery versus...
And simple face.
Natural face.
Natural face. What do you mean by that?
It's very simple and nothing mystery.
Negative emotion.
Negative emotions, okay. Well, this is a tough one. We're just going to have to do it democratically.
But I think these 2 are very different. Why do you think it's the same?
Because they have the same background. And
No,
because...
the background is different. You can see more from the right one.
Yeah, but it's the same. It's the same. It's the same object in the background. I'm artificially placing this restriction on us. I am saying, because look at me, I'm in charge. I'm saying that we can only have one of these images, and you guys have to choose. So, which one thinks it? Who of you thinks it should be this one that we keep? No, speak up. Speak up. I'll be measuring your volume. Hi. Oh, thank you very much. Okay. This actually kind of works. Okay, so we have, and it's a very good point, these backgrounds are also quite different. This guy has a lot more space around it, whereas over here, you have a much more dense, sort of urban kind of background.
Spy in Moscow.
Spy in Moscow. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna do one more thing that makes it a little bit easier for us to choose. If you look at this set of images, we have a lot of images that have him with an open face, where he's presented against the sky. So considering that there is so much in this gallery that makes use of open space behind him, and almost nothing that makes use of this closed, mysterious expression, I think it should be this one,
Yes.
because it is more unique in the set of images. So I'm going to give it 2 stars. Now,
You can use also call it 2 stars.
yep, I realized that, I was just testing you. Okay. We have 5 images, we can only keep 1. So, we start off by throwing away whatever we don't think is going to work. Now, this is cute, that's cute, but neither of them are going to be poster images, right? Right? Do you disagree? Do you think that these are the best?
The second one.
Okay, so let's just get rid of the first one at least, we can agree on that.
Yes.
Between these two, which is the stronger image?
I think the second one.
Yeah, right? This one, it is nice, but it's a bit of a weird gesture. He's doing weird stuff with his hand over there. What's he touching there exactly? I don't know. And even though the scarf is providing some nice silhouette for his face, he doesn't need it. I'm going to get rid of that one. This takes it down to 3 candidates. 3 different poses. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. So we've got him tugging on his, we've got him walking toward us, we've got him standing, and we've got him directly looking at us, even with a little bit of glow to the side. So I know which one I want to keep. I know which one I'm going to keep because I'm in charge. But you guys get to argue about it a little bit. Let's look at the details because that's ultimately what it comes down to. Over here we have the sun setting at the very edge of the frame. And we have a lot of empty space over here. So I think that in terms of framing, I did a poor job on this one compared to this one. Here you have a lot of space to the side and it feels like you have more room to breathe in these 2 images. Do you disagree? No, it's fine, You're allowed to disagree, you'll just be wrong.
And I think on the third one, the object, the tree, is too close to the edge.
I think so too. It's what I was talking about before. This is a matter of personal taste, because you have excellent taste, because it's like mine. So, because this object is too close to the edge of the frame, it's causing stress and it's distracting us from the center. Whereas if you have more room, then it's not such a source of stress anymore. This is a survival response. Your eye and your optical cortex work in this way in order to make you pay attention to anything that's unusual or that's stressful or that might be dangerous. So, if you can place your disruptive objects, and considering that I wanted to have this nice sky, this street light is a disruptive object, I've got to make sure that it's placed somewhere in the frame where you can clearly see it so it's not going to cause any distress. Now, I'm definitely going to take out the one on the right, so that leaves these 2. Now, I think it's got some motion, it's got some emotion as well, whereas here he's just standing. Who thinks I'm wrong?
I think same.
What do you think?
This reduction is better.
Okay, thank you, very good. 10 points.
Alex, is it important to keep more space in front of him or behind him?
How do you mean? In front of him or behind him?
In the left or in the right of the picture?
Ah, like so. Well, that depends on the effect that you're going for. So, he's pretty much centered in here, right? That doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But the question is about, do you keep more space in front of the direction where he appears to be moving?
Yes.
Or more space behind him? Well, that kind of depends. So if he were more toward the edge and he was walking in this direction, it would have an air of mystery, right? It would have an aspect of curiosity because you want to know where he's going. If he was moving in this direction, he was on this side of the frame, you can see that there's loads of empty space, and it might convey a sense of peace, it might convey a sense of boredom. In fact, it really depends on the image. So when you're taking when you're doing a photo shoot like this, it's quite useful to just try a whole lot. That's why I don't like to work with tripods. I want to make sure that the camera's in my hand, so I can very quickly move. And there is no hard and fast rule to what looks better. It's the same as in art. You kind of have to try it out for every situation because the emotion that an image evokes can depend on the light, it can depend on the framing just as well. But just being conscious of the effect that can be had by having more space in front of him, like imagine if I shot this horizontal instead of vertical, more space in front of him or more space behind him, you'll give yourself the option to figure out what will actually work best for the image. So in this case, is there anyone who thinks that this one is the stronger image?
No.
Wow, that was very decisive. So you've just determined that no one thinks, okay, well, far be it for me to stand in the way of furry democracy. So that one gets 2 stars. We're moving at a fair clip. Well, which ones can we remove immediately?
First one.
Yeah, let's get rid of the first one. I don't think much is going on there.
Incomplete.
First
Yeah.
one and third one.
Okay, so we'll take away this one we can
Yes.
remove. You know what? I disagree, but just for now. So let's take away that one. Let's take away the last one as well. And it comes down to these 3 images, because I actually like what was the third one is now the second one. I actually like that he's giving it a little tug, that he's got a little energy going on there, and you see it twirling about a bit. I think this one, the idea is cute, it's got lots of depth, but it's too dynamic. Right? The scarf is just distracting from the subject, and his face looks weird.
Yeah.
Yeah? These are promotional photos, this isn't art. Well, I mean, it's still art. So let's get rid of that. And to make it fair, I'm going to make sure that the exposure on this one is not so atrocious. It looks a little better. So now we've got him tugging, we've got him dynamic, and we've got him sort of smiling off to the side. Who thinks this is the stronger image and why?
Because we already have many pictures where he is standing at the side of us.
Very good. That is a very strong argument.
By the way, you could just put
You could
this.
merge them.
Yeah, merge 2 pictures into one, and he looking at himself there. Yeah, that's fine.
This is not a stereopticon.
I can Photoshop more shit over it.
More shit into that, yeah, that's great. Don't put yourself in the background there, I'm sure. So, yeah. So we already have, over here, an image of him tugging on his scarf moving off to the side. But so, here's my problem with that. Even though you're right, we have too many of those photos already. I just don't think, really, that this image is stronger than this one. I actually think it's quite weak in comparison. So even though it is the same as some other stuff that we already have, I'm going to keep this one and then make a choice between whether to keep this or something with a different background, because we don't have to come out with 10 images.
What about those people in the background? Don't they distract us?
That's
Yeah.
already.
Because they don't have faces.
That's a good question, and it's subjective. Do you think that they're distraction? That they're distracting?
No, they're not.
I think that's good that we have a dark spot down there.
Yeah, compositionally it's interesting, but it does lead to. So we put him up on a pedestal to lower the background and to raise him up, but the consequence is he looks massive compared to these guys. He looks huge. Now maybe he's into macro shit, I don't know, that's totally fine. But do we think that, does he look like a giant? Does he look like a mutant? From Chernobyl? No? Okay, if we think that he looks fine, then he looks fine. So then I'm going to go with the image on the left, and then later on we're going to have the challenge of choosing between that and some other similar images. Okay, we're nearly done. So let's take these images. Well, okay, so not that one. That's good. We're making some progress. Okay. Do we like the mystery, or do we like the sort of cheeky, foxy
Mystery.
mystery?
Yes.
Well, then it's easy. Then we keep the mystery and forget about the rest. We're making good progress here, guys. Okay, we have the gloves. Well, not this one, not the middle one. Middle one's boring. Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
No, back.
No. So that leaves these two. The one on the left, it was a cute concept, but it's still like it's very blurry. And while that's interesting photographically, I think it's a bit of a problem. Then again, I think the image on the right is not very strong either. What do you think?
That was supposed to adjust it, the brightness. No?
Oh,
Yes. Can you brighten it?
sorry, yes, of course. This is what they look like. You like the one on the right?
Yeah.
Well, that's all I need. Anybody who disagrees? Yes.
Because the second one has some motion.
Yeah.
Expression.
I like the second one.
Yep.
But on the second one, you cut his hand.
His hand is out of frame. That's true. That is very true. So the second one does have this cute motion.
Part of building.
What are you talking about? This building?
No, his right hand is big hand.
Left and right.
Oh, I see.
You
Yeah.
have no hand, right hand too.
Yeah. Well,
Sleep.
maybe he has a hook. I don't know. Okay. Executive decision. We're going with the first image. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. That's what it comes down to. And then we have these two.
Why do you have to choose between them?
Let's make them fair. Because I say so. There really is no other reason. But actually, I think both of these are really, really strong. Compositionally, they're interesting. The light is good.
Seal.
He does look a bit like a seal. Okay, so this one time, if we all agree, I will allow us to keep both images. Do we all agree that both these images deserve to stay in?
Yeah, I mean, the last one is unique.
The last one is pretty unique. Yeah, that's the idea. And the first one,
I like this
It's nice.
composition, the black and white passes is holding him nicely.
yeah. So both of these kind of work. So even though both of them have the same background, technically both of them have the same lighting and the same kind of mood, like both of them are kind of cheeky, I think both of them are worth keeping. So let's give both of them 2 stars. Just this once, okay? Don't tell anybody that I let this happen. Let's filter it by 2 stars. Okay. Now, I still think that there's a lot that's quite similar. So let's take a look at these 2 images. Both of these convey mystery. Which one do we think is stronger? Really? But this one has all these lovely lights in the background. You really like this one better?
Yes.
That is not mystery.
Lights are not mysterious, that's a very good point. And compositionally, they don't do much. Whereas here, mystery is stronger. Okay, so let's keep that one. And reject the other one. So this one's now getting 3 stars, the first one. Let's see if there's anything else that's similar. These 2 images are compositionally quite similar. Which one's stronger?
Left.
The left.
Left, absolutely. Since this one's so strong and they're compositionally similar, do we have any need to keep this photo?
No.
It's okay. If we like this photo, then we can add it. But I'm with you fellas. I think that the first one is so strong that the second one will just distract from it. When you have a really, really, really good image, and this one is a really good one, we were really lucky with the timing, it is important that your gallery is as small as possible so that it can have maximum impact. So let's give that 3 stars. Let's see what else we have. So in the context of the images that we've shot so far, does this measure up with the other images?
No.
Depending on the purpose.
Depending on the purpose. In this case, we're talking about promotional images, so we want it for on its website, on flyers or whatever. So I don't think that this cuts it, right? Compared to the other ones that we've shot. Okie doke. Does this one? Does this one measure up?
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
Well, we have now 3 images with the same background. That building has been translated for me as Vasily the Retarded, which I'm sure is not the correct translation, but
The Church of Saint Basil.
yes, St. Basil, Fool for Christ. I did actually look it up on Wikipedia before, but I like Vasily the Retarded. That's cute. Thank you for the information, though. Thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow. So technically, we have two distinct backgrounds. One of them just has the building in the background, which is very recognizable. The other one also uses these zebra stripes composition. If we had to get rid of one image, I'm not saying that we do, but if we had to get rid of one image, which one would it be? The bottom one, you want to get rid of that one?
Yes.
You guys are freaks. You're completely wrong. This is so unique, it's so powerful. These are all just kind of...
First one is
That is the correct answer. Like I said, taste is very subjective, but I have it, and you guys don't, unless you agree with me. So let's get rid of the first one. Jesus, you were going to get rid of the last image. That's terrible. You guys are terrible people. Sorry. You just really upset me there for a second. I really need to get out of my system. Let's keep them all. Let's keep all of them. I think that's safer, right? I think all of them have value. And let's just give it a shot. You know what? I think this one is going to be really hard to work on. And honestly, if you look at his expression, it's not really great, is it? Disappointed. Whoa. That is a harsh thing to be. So now that we look at it in more detail, I actually don't think this one is as good as the other ones. So let's bring it down to these two guys. Okay, just out of curiosity, now we're faced with the choice. Do we keep both of them? Do we continue with our original choice? Do we keep both of them? Because now the choice is, let me see, we have this one, this one, this one, and this one. These are then our four images. Are they distinct enough to satisfy our requirements?
I would say yes, because the postures are different and the messages are different as well.
I still think that the last one, the right, is a little bit crumbled. I don't know. He's looking like he's doing some harsh exercise.
Yeah.
It's just crazy enough.
It is just crazy enough. But these two images are similar enough that they are a distraction for the rest of the gallery. If it was just these three images, I think the gallery would be stronger.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that this one needs to go for the rest of the images to look better. Even though that's quite painful, because it's quite a good image. Like, on its own, it's fine. Like, that photo went on Twitter, it was a huge success. But in the context of this gallery, we need to be even more selective. Bye-bye. So this one gets 3 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars. Now we just have 3 images. Only 3. Now, how are we doing for time? Can somebody tell me I know what time it is, but I don't know when I'm supposed to stop this. God only knows. Do we want to continue? Do you want to learn more? It's what? Dinner in 20 minutes. Okay, that's a really, really good deadline. 20 minutes. 20 minutes to edit 3 poster quality photos. So, let's get started. I'm going to set my filter to 3 stars over here. Over here. Okay, image 1. First problem. His cheeks are grossly overexposed. So let's take a look at that. Look at the histogram up here. The histogram is a graph that shows you the light intensity of pixels. So in this case, white is on the right, black is on the left. So we have some very dark pixels, especially in the red channel. You can see that there's a little spike in the red channel. That comes from the red bricks in the background. We have a lot of midtones, or we have a lot of shadows that are blue and red also from the background. We don't have a lot of midtones. Then we have another spike in the highlights, and that's the skin of our subject, and another spike over here in the whites. So let's take the whites down, 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 because I want his skin to look normal. Let's take the highlights down, 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 down. Okay, so we've got normal looking skin now, and now the background is too dark, I think. So, we have a bunch of solutions for this. I'm going to take the easy way out, because his skin is pink and orange, human skin is pink and orange. Even if you're black, it's still pink and orange, they're just different tonal values. Whereas the sky is blue. So I'm going to take my hue, saturation, and luminance tool. I'm going to take the luminance, which is the brightness, and selecting a blue pixel, I want all my blue pixels to be brighter. Or perhaps I want them to be darker. No, I want them to be brighter. And everything that's red as well, what if I make that brighter? Darker? Brighter?
Oh my god! Dark silver.
Okay, this is better. Now, is there anything compositionally that's irritating? There's nothing in this corner, there's nothing in that corner, there's nothing in those corners, that's fine. So I think this is kind of okay, but you know what, the color really doesn't do that much for me. Let's see what this looks like in black and white. Whoa, that is much better. This image works much better in black and white. In which case, let's see if we can bring up the highlights again.
Oh.
And then bring the shadows down a bit. No, I want more brightness and shadows, and then I'll just take a little bit more nuanced over there. I think we have what we need here. Now let's check his face in detail, because remember he had a spot on his forehead which is completely concealed by his hair, so that's great. We don't have to do anything about that. Is there anything else on his face? Oh, look at that blur, I hadn't even noticed that. Again, half his face is sharp because that half was illuminated by the flash, and the other half is blurry because the shutter speed was so slow. Technically, there's no need to do anything with this image, but because these are poster quality images, I'm just going to make sure that these spots are gone. Now, when it comes to retouching, it's easy to go overboard, and I like to practice. Well, every photographer has their own set of ethics when it comes to what is okay to edit. And one of the rules that I hold on to is anything that's on your subject's face that would not have been here, say 2 weeks later or 2 weeks earlier, such as a little spot or whatever, can go. Right? That's not cheating. That's not faking. That's not grossly exaggerating how someone looks. I'm going to get rid of these distractions over here because I like the blur so much that I want to make sure that it remains the focus. I'm going to take some of these distractions away over here as well. Do we all think that this is okay to do? Do we all think that this is ethical, what I'm doing right now?
You should do it in private.
Well,
There is a South Park episode about this.
Yes. There was a very good South Park episode about just this, which did not have the ending that I wanted as a photographer. Okay. Is there anything else that needs doing? Let's see what happens if we add just a tiny bit of vignetting. When I say a tiny bit, I mean a lot, because I like to visualize it strongly first and then work my way back down. Is this too dark? It's all too dark. Darkness is already a problem. Okay, we're not going to add any vignette. Does it need any grain? No, it's too fine to see. Let's forget about it. Okay, this one, so far so good. Yes, this is going to be tricky. We have loads of subtle colors in here. Let's see. I think this one has already been edited, so let me undo that. But this was the original image. Now, it actually looks kind of fucked. Like he's got this massive blast in the face, it's all tilted. And even though the sky is very promising, it doesn't look great. Here we've already got the colors blown out. But that's because of the projector. So this red spot over here is because of the projector and not because of the image, so that's okay. First of all, let's try and straighten it. So I'm going to take my cropping tool, and I want to get this straight. I know it's unnatural for a fox, but now, when I do that, what we wind up with is a bit of stress over here, which I kind of want to get rid of. So let's see if I can get rid of that some more. Now we're losing some of this sky, but as long as we keep the red part of the sky in, I think we'll be okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
We can compare and contrast the original like so. Okay, well, perhaps not. Okay, next up, his face is completely white, so let's take that down, 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 down. I want to get more of his natural skin tone in. Then we have to bring up the shadows because I want more detail in the clothes. So what if we take up the blacks and then move the shadows down a bit and take up the blacks some more. And take the shadows down again. And lower the contrast in general. It's so hard to see on this projector. One thing that I do want is to get more pop out of my background. So I'm going to take the saturation for red and turn it up just a bit. And for orange, just a bit. And for blue, let's see what happens if I take that down. Yeah, it's black and white. No. Yuck. Yuck, 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 yuck. Make it more intense.
Just a little.
Just a little. I agree. So that's pretty good. We're doing great. I still think that there's too much similarity between the tonal balance, tone is brightness, of the environment and my subject. Especially down here where he's wearing blue jeans, the environment is being lit by the blue light of dusk, so it's all too similar. I would like to add a little bit of contrast there, so I'm going to take my gradient tool and make a gradient, and just so you can see what it's doing, right, this is how it works, right? I'm not going to do it that extreme, but I am going to darken it just a little bit, increase the contrast just a little bit. And that helps just a bit. It looks a little fake, I think, so I'm going to stretch the effect out here. There's the shadows, increase the contrast. And finally, I'm going to add just a hint of a vignette. And again, when I say just a hint, I mean a whole lot so I can visualize what's happening. Bring it down, and bring it back down. Okay. Anything else that's distracting about this image so far? I'm so sorry about the quality of the projector. This is the best we can do. I really appreciate the tech team for putting this together. Anything else that needs doing here? No? That's fine. I think the crop needs to be adjusted because you've got just this little sliver of light over here and I don't like it. I want my composition to be clean. So let's just get rid of that. Just like so. Just like so. And it's still just slightly crooked. There we go. Yes? Okay. And this one, well, it's basically already been edited. This is how it started. Unimpressive. And now it's already been edited. Let's see if we can take away this vignette. No, then it's totally too busy. I think it's pretty good. Okay, so let's recap. We have these three images. Two of them are in black and white. That's okay. Do you guys feel that this one is lacking contrast in comparison? I mean, these have very strong highlights and shadows. And this one is kind of soft.
Yes.
Yeah? Well, to me, and you guys can totally disagree, I think this is the strongest image in the set. So I actually want this one to look the best, and the other ones to support it. So there's two things that I can do. I can increase the contrast on this photo, or I can reduce it over here. So I think that the middle photo is good just the way it is, but it's now going to be a priority to take down the contrast on the other two photos. So let's take a look at what we can do there. If we start off, let's just start off with the contrast slider and move it down a bit. Okay, one, and here as well, contrast slider, move it down. And then I want these shadows to also move down. And here, that's better, right? Okay. We have 3 award-winning images here. We've done very, very well. But so let's recap the exercises that we've done. We've shown great discipline in our selection. We've had the heartbreaking challenge of finding images that were pretty good, but we had to throw away because they just weren't contributing. And we wound up with 3 photos. Now, have you noticed that almost nothing in this panel has been about taking photographs? Did that occur to anyone? That it's a bit strange for a photography panel to do that? Because taking photographs is only part of the process. It's a really important part. You have to know your camera, you have to know your subject, you have to be able to engage and to recognize a good background when you see it. But what makes one of the things that makes a great photographer is the ability to select great photos, which comes down to the thing that I was talking about earlier, taste. If you have good taste, you will select better photos. And, well, let's face it, when we see furry photo galleries of furry events like conventions, it tends to be hundreds and hundreds of photos, none of which are interesting to most people, except for fursuiters. Fursuiters love to check all of their photos, and that's totally fine. But when it comes to capturing the event, you can have more impact by showing fewer photos. Yes? The adage is sometimes less is more. I prefer to say less but better. So we went from this sprawling mass to these excellent photos. I think we did very well, guys. Okay, a little bit more time. We have about 10 minutes. So I want to do a quick Q&A in case anybody came here with questions that they have, because I have spent an awful lot of time talking. It's kind of your turn.
I just came to hear you talking.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, I guess I didn't need to prepare all this then. Fine. I'm very pleased to hear that. So, any questions related to photography in general? Because originally the plan was that I would actually do some exercises live with these babies, but we can't actually connect them, unfortunately, to the projector in any way. So, who has? Really? You're all just complete experts in everything that you're doing? Okay, I think we're done. I think we can go eat.
Yes.
Who's excited about that?
No.
I am. Hey, guys, thank you very much for coming. I hope you learned something. If not, I hope you enjoyed the sound of my voice. See you again next year?
Maybe.
Wow. Jesus. No, that's okay. Hey, tonight, Foxmore and I are doing a panel on creativity and collaboration. This should be about 5:30, I forget exactly what it is. You look it up in the column. It will be great to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming.
And what about the event? About what?
Sorry,
What
what?
do we do in this event?
What this event is about?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's about creativity and collaboration. Fox and I will be discussing the creative process from his position as a musician, from my position as a retired writer. And both of us have been engaged in numerous collaborative projects. So we're also going to be talking about about team management, for example, how to recognize problems that are occurring in a team, and hopefully how you can run better collaborative projects in the furry family, because there is so much creativity here, there's so much energy, and a lot of people are just lazy. So how do you recognize people who are criminally lazy from people who are just normally very lazy? Anyway, we'll be talking about that this evening. Should be fun. I'd like to see you guys. Okay, now we can go. Yeah, that's what I like.